Welcome everyone to our session on what's new in Microsoft 365 and what's next. I'm excited to talk to you about especially what's going on already and what's coming up here in 2026. Matthew and I were chatting a little bit before we got started, and I was telling him it took me forever to get the handout written because there's so many things that are happening. You'll notice that if you download that handout, it's kind of long. There might be some repeated information in certain areas here and there, but I didn't want to forget anything. So I know I did because I just saw a new feature that I forgot to put in the handout. So I'll try and get through as many new features as I possibly can in our 1 hour. Starting with so just so you know, I'm kind of going back to what has happened in fourth quarter of 2025, and then what's coming in 2026 is what we're going to be focusing on. So Microsoft is going to be continuing its focus on Copilot. So Copilot had a huge push in 2025. We did several different training sessions to make sure that you were up to speed on some of those. But of course, they will continue to make changes in Copilot. We will talk about some of the changes that have recently happened and talk about some of the changes that are coming up. I am so excited about this year and what we have in store. So big AI, that's going to be kind of the main topic of what has happened and what's coming up. But another feature that has happened that I wanted to make sure you were all aware of, back in October, we did get new icons for all of your Microsoft apps. So if you go into, like as an example, if I go to my Microsoft Apps Launcher, where I can have access to every single app, you'll notice the icons for each has changed to more of a 3D look of an icon. Therefore, when they did that, they started making a few adjustments to the user interface as well. I swear every time they change the logo, they have to change the icons that appear on the ribbon as well to give it more and more of a modern look and feel. I don't know who dictates what's modern, but they, of course, went and changed a few of the icons on the user interface as well. You'll see that. They're trying to have them be a little bit more simple, I think. Certain ones definitely stand out more than others because they don't use a lot of color. Some of them are actually a outline of what it is. So anyway, just so you could see, you've got all these different changes to all these different icons. So I like the new ones. I don't think there was anything wrong with the old ones, but just so you could see, there are new ones. And like I said, the user interface has changed a little bit too. But when it comes to Copilot, Copilot has definitely had some changes come through. The way that we used to chat with the system has definitely changed. It has improved by leaps and bounds. We'll get into a little bit more about how and why that all changed, but really understanding the difference between when you have a Copilot license, you have the ability to be working in work versus web. And I'll show you some examples, of course, of how all this works now and the changes on the user interface, whether you're using Copilot app or you're using it in Outlook or Word or PowerPoint, wherever you're using it from. There's definitely been some changes in Copilot in each of the apps. So I'll go through each of the apps and talk about Copilot changes, but I'll also talk about standard changes that have happened in the apps as well, and what we can kind of expect moving, of course, forward. But Copilot definitely works across multiple apps. Microsoft is making huge improvements on what other apps can connect besides Microsoft. They are integrating Copilot into every single app that's available in your Microsoft suite of applications, but they're also doing third-party apps. Okay, so those third-party apps, of course, can be your ERP system, those kind of things. So anyway, one of the biggest changes, as you can see on this slide, the business impact example that I have there, you can ask Copilot to summarize a meeting, then manually update a document, then email the team. So before, we could say that. We could say, summarize this meeting, update the document, and send an email. So now Copilot can summarize the meeting, suggest updates to the document, and draft a follow-up message with awareness of your recent work. So when you stop and think about the power that was originally behind Copilot, it has more than doubled the power of the way that it works today. It is becoming much easier. And one of the reasons that is happening, and by the way, I have a lot of detail in your handouts that I encourage you to read after we get done with our session, because I, of course, can't say everything that's in your handout. But a big thing that had changed was in Q4 of 2025, they came out with new models. I always explain models as being like a new version, like in Windows. We went from Windows 8 to Windows 10. Now we have Windows 11, that kind of a thing. I think of models that way as well. So when we think about using GPTs, whether it's ChatGPT, it's Copilot, they're all AI tools. And it's AI that develops these new models. So these new models are now being used within and automatically within Copilot. And let me show you what I mean by that in the Copilot app. So when we're in the Copilot app, I have a shortcut for it up on my menu here. So when you come into the new Copilot, I do have a license for Copilot. At the top right, you're going to see it says auto. So it's automatically using the newest model, which is a GPT-5. If I click on that drop down, you can see it's going to decide how long it will think to give you the results of your prompt. And prompting has definitely changed. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But you could tell it you want to get a quick response. Or you can say, on this particular prompt, I want you to actually think deeper. Under the more category, you can see that we're at GPT 5.2. So it started, of course, with the 5.0. Now we're up to 5.2. 5.3 will be available shortly as well. So it's just enhancements. It's like we had Windows 3.0 and then we had Windows 3.1. So it's kind of that same concept when you just get an update to the current version. So these models are doing that same thing. So they're more relevant to current information and they do a deeper analysis. But they now also have assistants. And part of those assistants that are really being introduced when we talk about what's coming in 2026 is things are going to be more agent driven. I'm going to give you a demonstration of agents today because agents is a household word these days. In 2025, it was Copilot. 2026, the household word is agents, whether you're using ChatGPT agents or you're using agents in Copilot. But I want to show you in Copilot what Microsoft is doing and we'll talk about what their plans are in 2026. But there's going to be more multi-model reasoning built into these agents. And they've already released, we'll get into a little bit more of this, but they've already released agents to be available directly within the applications. I'll talk about Frontier in a second. But there's expanded model choices. There's going to be stronger governance, auditing, and model control features as well. A lot of admin capabilities behind the scenes because of the fact that, we always have to be very careful and make sure that we are staying compliant with our AI usage. So Microsoft is building in stronger and stronger security measures and making sure that it abides by standard governance policies. Okay, because we definitely need to make sure that what we're doing is held confidential within our system, Microsoft 365. But anyway, one of the features that has been enhanced and been added, I should say, back in November and December of 2025, Microsoft came out with this Work IQ. It's context and memory. And in a nutshell, what this does is similar to other AI tools, it keeps track of really memory of what it is that you have been doing. So if I'm logged into my account and I'm chatting with Copilot and I'm telling it, I want you to write a letter to or an email to the employees of my company, virtual training company, and I want it to be based on this and I want it to be professional, etc. It's learning my company as I'm chatting with it. So it's got these memory capabilities that have been very enhanced these last couple of quarters of 2025 and will continue to be enhanced in 2026 as well. Let me show you where these are actually located. I have more information, of course, in your handout on this, but if I go back into Copilot, there's a menu at the top right, the dot, dot, dot menu. When you click on that, you can go into settings. Now, by the way, I don't have to be in the Copilot app to do this. I can actually be in Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, etc. So I'll show you that when I'm in those apps as well, because we have consistency across the board, which is a new and improved feature. But from there, you can go into the settings. I do recommend doing this. If you've never been in here, I highly recommend coming in here because there's some features that I think people don't realize came out in 2025 earlier in the year that they haven't taken advantage of yet. But anyway, you can see different information about your current version of 365 Copilot. There's data control, which is referring to managing the shared links that you've done. But the personalization, this is a key area that everybody should visit. You can actually put in custom instructions, which came out in 2025. You can put in information on your work profile, answer a few questions on that. But also here is that saved memories. Do you want that turned on or not? Because if you're representing or doing work for, a lot of different customers and a lot of different companies and whatever, you may not want it to keep track of memory because then it's going to assume you want to use that same company over and over again, or when it gets used to your patterns, it will continue to use those. So you do have the ability of turning it off if you want to get rid of the memory it already has. You can click on this Manage Saved Memories, and it will take you into a list of the memories. Okay, so if I want to delete all of them, you can click Delete All Memories, and those memories can all be gone. And it can basically, if you keep it turned on, it will automatically keep track starting fresh with new memories. Also, under the agents category, I'm just going to mention this right now. We'll talk more about agents, of course, here coming up. But you can manage agents from here as well. You can see that these are the agents that I actively have right now. I'm going to be creating one with you here in just a moment. But just so you could see, I'm doing a learning agent. I can use decisions. I have a few others that are available to me as well, and I'll show you that here in a few minutes. But knowing that it does do that memory, like other AI agents, I think can be an important part of using Copilot these days. And like I said, they will continue to enhance that capability as we go into 2026 as well. So Copilot understands your work environment. So we want to kind of keep that in mind. And when we are prompting the system, we don't always have to tell it specific information. If it's part of the memory, it's going to already know that. So it makes prompting easier. It's a lot more efficient is what it's going to end up doing. So anyway, I'm not going to go into any more on that. It's something that is built in. It's just automatically going to do that. But when we were referring to those models are going to continue to get stronger and stronger. So when we went into that drop down, I wanted to show you that also, let's say that I'm actually in Excel. If I go open Copilot from the Home tab of the ribbon, you can see that same dot, dot, dot menu at the top right. Just so you know, you can click on that and you will see auto. That's what it's doing by default across all of your apps and the Copilot app. So they all use the same model by default. But if you wanted to do a deeper thinking, of course, you could do that. You could choose that just like you do when you are in the Copilot app itself. So also from that drop-down menu, no matter if you're in Outlook, PowerPoint, Word, whatever, you can open the Copilot app directly from the drop-down menu. We, of course, don't have that when we're in the app because why would we? We're already there. I will talk about scheduled prompts here in a minute, but just so you can see also, consistent in the Copilot app and available in all your Microsoft 365 individual apps, you can also do a temporary chat now. Temporary chat is referring to it's not going to save it in history. So if you want to do a chat that you never need to see again, choose temporary chat in any of the Copilot areas. Doesn't matter which one, and it won't keep it in the history. Okay, just so you know that. But anyway, I'm going to come back to Excel and talk a little bit more about some changes that are happening there. Okay, so really kind of, moving on to, what's coming with these agents, what's coming with kind of the Copilot scenario. They're really doing a lot of cross-app workflow capabilities built through agents and Copilot. Agents, like I said, is the key word for the year, but there's going to be a lot of centralized locations of where your AI libraries are going to be placed. We can do monthly updates of getting learning to keep going with learning new capabilities with Copilot. There's so many things that are coming in 2026. It is pretty crazy. As a matter of fact, information that was just released about a week ago, letting us know that there's over 1,100 new features. Most enhancements and updates are going to be related to AI, the AI capability, with improvements on the security. We're going to have some new capabilities, of course, coming to each individual app, but not a ton. It's really more on the AI and how Copilot is actually being used. They will have some pricing updates coming out in July, starting July 1st. There's going to be some endpoint management that's going to be coming out in 2026. Just so you know, we've got quite a few things that will be coming, but the huge thing is going to be the continuation of enhancing the AI capabilities that we have. You can see I also have some mailbox storage allocations. They're doing some changes to that for end users too, but that's more on the admin side. We don't need to worry about that here with us. But let's go back and talk more about what's going to be happening with Copilot in what's already happened in 2025 at the end of the year and what's going to continue to happen. So when it came to prompting has changed quite a bit, especially now with the new model. In the old days, if we gave it a prompt, it didn't always give us kind of the best results. Now it gives us a lot better results, and we have help to get into more easier ways to use Copilot. So let me get into my Copilot app here. Couple of user interface changes that I wanted to mention. On the left-hand side, they've added a few things. I won't get into every single one of these, but there's this Create tab on the left-hand side. When you click on that, it opens up what do you want to create. So do you want to create an image? Do you want to create an Excel? And it will use Copilot to help you do those kind of things. So it's a way that you could have a platform to start creating different entities. If you go to apps, that's going to just jump you into your Microsoft apps list. So that's a quick, easy way to get to your Microsoft apps if you're already in Copilot and you need to open up Outlook or Word or OneNote, whatever, you can easily get to that. I also have Frontier. Frontier, which there's definitely a lot of information in your handout on what Frontier is, but Frontier is this new initiative that Microsoft has where they're really doing a lot of testing and then releasing to a Frontier group. I won't go into all the details behind the scenes of it, but you'll see that when I start showing you agents, some of the agents are coming from the Frontier platform, so you may or may not see them just yet unless you are signed up for Microsoft's early release information, which I am because I want to see what's in development before it goes live to the public. So anyway, I'll show you some of those agents here today, which are actually a part of Frontier, and some of them have already been released to the public. So they're not going to say Frontier in them anymore because they've transitioned from the interim of Frontier to be available to the public. So it no longer will say the word Frontier. So while it's in testing mode and things like that, it's going to be in the Frontier platform. But long story short, I'll keep it as that for right now. So I could go directly into an agent working in the Frontier that is directly related to Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. I'm not going to do that from here. I'm going to show you individually inside the app instead, but I could use them here. You will see this category on the left-hand side for agents. You can see your existing agents if you had any, or you will see an icon for new agent, which it uses Copilot Studio to create, but it doesn't open the Copilot Studio app itself. It's a kind of a small front end to the application here through Copilot. I'll show you it in a minute, so you'll have a better idea. But then you can also get into all agents. Then you're going to see notebooks. Notebooks can be created to correspond together with the information that is directly related to whatever you want to share with somebody. So it's like a storage place that you could be keeping notes built into Copilot. That's not new, but they made a few enhancements to it. That's actually been around for a little bit already. But anyway, just so you could see, then of course you get your chat history. As you keep scrolling down, you can also get into all chats. All chats will take you into a window that will show you yesterday, today, previous 7 days, etc. It organizes it similar to how we can organize our Outlook emails. That's kind of how I think of it. And then as I kept scrolling down, I can actually see different apps that I could easily open from this menu as well. And that's something that they just recently added. So that menu on the left-hand side is a very powerful tool to be able to quickly and easily get to things. But I'm going to go back and click New Chat for a moment, because make sure that you're chatting with the right tools. So what I mean by that is up at the top in the middle, it says Work Web, and that is now consistent through all of your apps as well. But make sure that if you wanted to look through your Microsoft 365 account, you're on Work. Because if I'm on web and I wanted to find a file that's in my SharePoint document library, it doesn't understand what I'm talking about because it doesn't have access to my 365 account. It's looking on the internet. So it has gotten a lot better with the prompting. You will, of course, still see your suggested prompts down at the bottom. But if you go to the Show More, it's going to show you additional prompts. You can go into the prompt gallery from there, which they, of course, have enhanced. So there's a lot of different types of new prompts that they've added in, which are great to kind of skim through and see, because sometimes we don't know what we should be chatting with Copilot about. So these are great ways to kind of help learn different things that you could be using in Copilot. But anyway, also when you look at the chat window itself, there's this tools icon. If you click on the tools icon, you can directly open up an agent. So right now you can see I have a researcher agent, I have an analyst, I have Word, Excel, PowerPoint designer. I can explore more agents from this menu. And you can see I have one called Jolene's Plan My Day agent. I have Viva Goals. I have a People, which is still in the Frontier phase, workflows, etc. If I wanted to use any of these, all I have to do is click on it and it will automatically open that agent. Or I can go into Get Agents. So just so you know, you have this tools menu available while you're here in the Copilot app. You also can click the plus sign to add content. They've kind of changed the user interface here a little bit, where if you want to add work content, you want to upload from any cloud-based storage location, you have quick, easy access to get to those. Now, just so you know, consistency is the key. We want, and this is what Microsoft's big focus was last year, we talked about in our last year's class on what's new and what's coming. Microsoft really wanted to focus on having consistency across each of the applications, and they did succeed at that. So what I mean by that is if I go back to Excel, and I have my Copilot already open, What's consistent is, I already mentioned that we have that dot, dot, dot at the top right. We get that menu where we can have some of the same elements as what we saw in the app itself. And up at the top, you see this suitcase looking icon and you see this globe. Are you wanting to search based on your work account, or are you wanting to search based on the internet? You don't have to be in the Copilot app to be having it search a specific location. It can be searching in my Outlook, even though I'm in Excel, because it's the same Copilot that is being used across the board. There are unique characteristics that can be used inside each, and that's leading us back to agents again. If I go to the top left of this navigation pane, of this Copilot window, I can go to the navigation panel from the Copilot app. When I click on it, it gives me a drop down showing me that whole entire menu. So if I want to go into an agent from here, I can do that. I could create a new agent. You can see I have my chat history, those kind of things, just so you're noticing that consistency across the board, okay? Which is pretty cool. And one more thing, when you go to the chat window, just like on the Copilot app, you have the same tool option. So when you go to tools, you can see that I have analyst, I have designer, I could explore more agents. So if I wanted to get into a different agent, I can do so right from this drop down. So here's all these agents. Okay, so we have that nice consistency across the board in each of the applications. We don't have to relearn. It's not going to look different to us. Okay, so anyway, let me go back to the Copilot app again. And let's talk about a few other things that I want you to be aware of from in here. So when it came to kind of using Copilot, Copilot really does have huge improvements on the way that it's actually responding. It's drafting things in a smarter, more intelligent fashion. It knows which files, which meetings. It helps make decisions a lot quicker and easier. It is better at finding information within your 365 account, and it understands words a lot better than it did before. We used to have to give it, exact, and you had to have things spelled correctly and all of that. It doesn't, none of that really carries over anymore. Plus, we now have the agents built in from the Frontier applications coming in directly into each of the apps. So just so you could see, if I came in and I wanted Copilot to, do I have any files that refer to time management in my cloud? I don't even need to really say in my cloud because it's only going to look at my cloud. I guess I didn't need to add that in. You do have a microphone, of course, consistent across Copilot as well. So each of your apps have it in the same location. So when it goes out and finds this information, the way that it's bringing it back and how quick it's actually doing it has been definitely improved. It's 50% better than it ever used to be in the past. So it came back with, of course, a description up at the top, and then it's giving me key time management files that were found. It's giving me a hyperlink. It's telling me what type of document it is, giving me some notes on it. So doing a little summarization, and then it gives you a summarization at the end. Want to go further? It's saying, I can help you out with these things as well. Modify, identify the latest, most up-to-date version of each file, blah, blah, blah. It has all of these better suggestions at the bottom, and the suggested prompts have gotten better as well. But also notice down here on these suggested prompts, first one is summarize the key points from these files, identify the most recent version of these files, but then you're going to have that little, it's a star icon. You can click on that to view more prompts. So if you want to get into more prompts, you can go into view more prompts directly from that little star icon, which, by the way, they call that a sparkle. Just so you know, Microsoft has a name for that. You'll see it in Excel as well. you'll see it in different places, SharePoint document libraries, etc. Which, speaking of SharePoint document libraries, I want to talk about SharePoint. Well, actually, let me do agents first. I'm going to finish up with the Copilot app here real quick. Then I'll go into each individual application and show you what's new. So while I'm here in the Copilot app, I'm going to create a brand new agent and show you exactly the benefit of these, because I don't think people are truly understanding how huge this is going to be. So I have agents on the left-hand side that I could go into and use. I'll show you how to do that directly within an application. Like if I'm going to do a research paper on, new HP plotters, whatever, I could use Researcher to help me on that. So just so you know, an agent is an assistant to Copilot. And Copilot is your assistant. So it's really your assistant as well. So I'm going to click New Agent. And let's say that every morning I need to know, what do I have for meetings coming up today? What do I have that for tasks? What do I have coming up for this, that, and the other thing? We could actually describe what it is that we want the agent to do right here in a Copilot. So I'm just going to cheat here for a minute. Sorry, I had this open and I accidentally closed it. Let me go back here. So I'm going to actually put in some instructions, some goals, some descriptions. So I could describe it if I wanted to, and that has improved, but I'm going to click Configure, where I want to come in and I'm going to give it a name. Oops. I'm going to give it a description. And what I'm going to name this is, I'm going to do a daily agent. I'm going to call it daily agent. So what I wanted to do is to be able to give me prompts that I can use every day that will help me get started with my day or in the middle of the day, those kind of things. So I'm just going to call it daily agent for right now. I could change the icon up at the top as well, but then I can put in instructions as to what is it that I really want this to do. So I can put in what I want for here, let me copy and paste this. It will make it so much quicker. But I'm putting in some instructions like, here's the guidance. Act as with professionalism and clarity at all times. Deliver concise summaries in table format for meetings, emails, and industry news. Gather a list of meetings. Based on meetings, chats, suggest the top 3. I'm giving it all these details. Then I can scroll down and I can actually give it different prompts that I want it to use. So if I have a specific prompt that I want to have available all the time, I can come in and put in what I want the message to be for the prompt. And let me just jump back to the beginning of this. Sorry, I added the heading in there that I didn't want it to have. Let me take that out. I'm just going to put a couple in here just to quick show you. But just so you could see, maybe I wanted to summarize my chats and channels with everything from today. I want to have that available to me all the time. Summarize chats and summarize chats and channels. So I'm just going to put those 2 in there, but I could keep adding more and more prompts that I want to have available. Then and you could see these on the right-hand side, what they're going to end up looking like. I'm going to click Create. What that's going to do is create the agent, and you can always go back in and edit. You could share it with your coworkers. It could actually be something that is available org-wide for your entire organization with a few other things that we could do with it. But it's going to show up on my left-hand side, and it will be available in any of my Microsoft applications through Copilot as well. I'm going to click Go to Agent. And it's going to show up here on my left-hand side under all my agents. So in a second, it's going to update it and it will be available. So I'm going to be able to go into the agent, click on it. So it takes a second for it to add it. but I'm going to be able to click on it, and what it's going to do is put the name of the agent and the icon at the top. Then it's going to give me the suggested prompts that I created that I can keep going back and adding, so that if I have things that I'm always checking with Copilot on at the beginning of my day, the middle of my day, the end of the day, I just came back from vacation, whatever, I don't have to sit and remember, how did I say that before? It worked out really well. I can have these saved and ready to use anytime. So if I wanted to help me prep for my meetings this week, I can click on that, click send, and it's going to automatically send it to Copilot to have it answer those questions for me. Now, it is taking a second for mine to show up over there, but that's okay. I'll come back to that. We can pin and unpin. We can add them to our menu. So when we go into all agents, which Microsoft has a whole bunch of them that are built in, Researcher happens to be one of them. Just keep in mind it's doing a lot of research in the background. So it takes a little bit longer sometimes for it to actually generate the results. But I'm going to see if it will let me jump, but I just jumped into the agent store. The agent store will show you all of the current agents that are available. It will show you any of them that are built by your organization. It's got these different categories. They can even work with other systems. So if I want to be using a different agent, like I'm going to be doing a bunch of surveys, and to get related information directly on surveys, I'm going to want to use the surveys agent. So that's how agents can be used. So they can be an assistant to Copilot to make it more efficient for you to use. I can use these in other applications as well. So if I'm in a Word document, as an example, I can use an agent right here in Word because they are now built in. If I go to Copilot, so I opened up my Copilot pane on the right-hand side here. You can see it's very consistent. If I go to the tools here, I could choose agent mode. Agent mode will become available to everyone that has a Copilot license. It will automatically be in Excel, Word, and PowerPoint first. Then it's going to be added into Outlook, SharePoint, etc. moving forward. But I'm going to go ahead and click agent mode. So I can use the Word agent mode, which enhances your capability directly for that specific application. So if I'm in PowerPoint and I do agent mode, it's specifically built for PowerPoint. So these are provided for free by Microsoft. We don't have to create them or anything. They may not be readily available to your organization just yet, but they are something that have been starting to be released to the public. So they will be, hopefully this first quarter of 2026, everyone should have them. But now when I chat with the system, like if I say write a report based on the latest construction workbook information. I'll just say that for real quick just to show you. It's going to use that agent mode to create the results of that chat. So it's taken a deeper dive into what Copilot has that's working directly within that application. So these are huge improvements that have been starting to be released already. So definitely want to check those out. It, to me, has been one of the best things. I have absolutely loved it. But let me jump over to, and by the way, in Microsoft Word, there hasn't been a lot of like new features added. Enhancements to Copilot, yes, but there really hasn't been a lot to the functionality of the application, except for like when you create a new document. So if I come in and I create a brand new Word document, what it's doing is it changed where you communicate with Copilot. So you can have Copilot right at the very top of the window. That's been changed a little bit. It makes it super easy to use. But otherwise, features-wise, it hasn't really changed. They changed the default font, but that was back in early part of 2025. So I won't worry so much about Microsoft Word. But I do want to jump into Excel, because there have definitely been some changes, and they changed some changes already. So what used to happen is you would click on a cell in Microsoft Excel and it would give you a Copilot icon. People complained. They did not like that. You had the capability of turning it off temporarily, but people still said they didn't like it. So I'm assuming Microsoft has now removed it because now we have it on a right click. If you go to the right click on any cell within your data range, you now have the same icon that we used to get when we clicked on a cell, that little sparkle, the little stars icon, is now your Copilot suggestions on a right click instead. So if I want to know, suggest a formula column, suggest conditional formatting, summarize this information, etc., etc. I can simply do that by just right clicking. I don't have to go into Copilot first and have Copilot open to have it work with that document. It can do it directly from the right click. So that's where I do it most of the time. So it's looking at my range of data, which it's a lot more intelligent on how it's doing that. Things do not need to be in a table, but they need to have a clear heading at the top, and you need to be clicked on the cell within your data range. But it used to force you to put everything in a table. We don't necessarily have to do that anymore. But what you're going to see is it came back and it said, okay, this is a formula that would work well for your information. If you want to use it, you click Insert Column, adds the new column for you, and it copies it all the way down and follows the formatting for the other number columns within your data source. So it's amazing what it does now. Plus, it's enhanced its capabilities on the suggested prompts that it's giving you. So show data insights, so show suggestions on conditional formatting. I can refresh it, all those kind of things. But what if I needed to analyze data? I could use an agent for that. I could go either to when I start a new chat, I could do it right in the tools or go to the top left, like I did before, to switch Copilots to this navigation pane. Okay, where did mine go? Let me close this and reopen it here real quick. If you happen to notice, by the way, there's a drop-down arrow for Copilot. This is going to go away. That drop-down arrow is going to be going away here very shortly, so that app skills, you don't need to go in that. Because it's going to go away, because it's part of the new agent mode, which I can only access right now from my Excel labs. I can get into agent mode from there, just so you're aware, but I won't go through that with you today. That's a whole nother day. But let me reopen Copilot. Oops, sorry. It's acting weird. Let me close and reopen. So something weird is going on mine right at the moment. I hope it's not doing an update. Let me go into this data set. Let me reopen my Copilot, see if it goes back to normal. Okay. So anyway, if I go to that navigation pane and I say I want it to use the analyst agent, when I click that, it automatically, all the searching that I do will be based on that analyst. And I wanted to analyze this data. I'll just say analyze this data just to show you. It does a deeper analysis than the regular Copilot would do because it's built to analyze data. It's built to do that. The general Copilot can do some analysis, but not the way that this built-in agent does. Whether you want to use the researcher to research information, the analyst, there's all kinds of things. But you can see the reasoning that it's doing. It's breaking things down. It's looking at code. It's looking at preparing statistics, etc. I'll let it go ahead and do its work while I talk about something else that's new. I want to go to PowerPoint actually. So I'm back into my PowerPoint presentation. Let me just end that for quick. And I want to create a new PowerPoint here for you because PowerPoint did have some changes that came. So first off, your Copilot icon is the little sparkle icon that appears at the top left of the slide. So you can click on Copilot directly from there now. That's one of the changes. They've made major improvements on working with Copilot also here. It didn't used to be able to give us very good graphics or add things to my slides. It can do a lot more of that, where what it would do before was it would come back and say, sorry, I can't do that. So it's getting a lot better. So anyway, you could see that you have all these different choices. So I could say add a slide, add in a topic. I could ask Copilot. So let me say that I want to ask Copilot. It has gotten so much better on how we work with it. I could say create a new presentation that shows users how to create a pivot table in Excel. Just to give you an idea, I can even click on my tools and I can say I want to use the analyst or I want to use the designer because I want it to help me create some images, or I could go into other agents from there as well. So I'm just going to click go, just so you know, easy from that tools menu to be able to get into those additional agents to use. So it does a better analysis of what it is that we are prompting with it. If you need an image, use that designer. That designer is an agent that does a much better job of not the cartoony characters of images. It can do more realistic type images, but it does do pretty good in regular Copilot. But I got to tell you, this new Copilot is, or this new agent is so much better. I never hardly use just Copilot on its own anymore. I'm using the enhanced capabilities by using the agents instead. So anyway, it's coming back with its reasoning. It's going through all the different scenarios as to what should it create. I didn't tell it how many slides to create, which I apologize. It's going to probably take a minute. But while it's doing all of that, let me jump back to Excel for a second. So it was doing all that reasoning and it came back with the key insights by area. So it looked at my entire worksheet or workbook, and it automatically came back with information related to each of the sheets within this workbook. So if I needed to generate a report, that's going to be a great way to be able to do that. And it digs so much deeper into the analysis because I was using that agent to help. But anyway, just so you know, that's all built in. In Outlook, boy, do we have a lot of changes in Outlook. If you are using the new Outlook, the latest and greatest of Outlook, there's a lot of better capabilities that we really didn't have before. So let's say that I go to an email that is a string of conversations. You can, of course, go directly to Summarize by Copilot, or you could go to the top and you could open Copilot. But let me close Copilot for a second. Just so you're noticing, on this drop down, I can click Summarize and Reply, and show key takeaways. So if I want to just get key takeaways on this email, I can click on that directly from that drop-down arrow, and it will automatically give me insights into that particular string of conversation. So we get the menu that we can choose different responses from. So definite changes in the way that Copilot is working within your emails. If you go to create a brand new message, you get the pencil icon for having it help you draft. They've made some great improvements here as well, and they have enhanced the menu. So they've added new features on this menu. We could say, I want a short and sweet, friendly message to a group of coworkers, blah, blah, blah. We could have it give us updates. It could create announcements. It can create newsletters. We could even go into customized drafts. But I'm going to click this one called Create Newsletter. So it gives you the suggested prompt for creating a newsletter, which these are similar to what you would use with an agent, by the way, where you could have those custom prompts. So this is like a custom prompt. And we could change it to say, how many paragraphs do you want your newsletter? It's kind of like filling in the blank, where then you put in who's going to be the audience of the newsletter, what are the details of the topics, and the tone that you want it to use. Do you have a specific format? So these are now built in directly to Outlook, and they're going to keep adding additional ones. They basically did a bunch of surveys to find out what is it that you're asking Copilot to do, and they're adding in this drop-down menu of different choices that we can be using that are built right into Outlook. It's just making it so much more efficient that we don't have to jump through hoops to try and find things. We want Copilot to do that for us. Now, of course, they've made improvements on the results that you're getting, But because it is AI, no matter what AI tool you're using, you still need to always do a double check. Make sure your data is accurate. So anyway, if I just click send, I didn't give it, deep analysis and details on what I wanted it to do, but it's going to create the message based on whatever it is that I told it. So if I wanted to be newsletter related and I wanted to have it give a certain highlights of topics, I could put in whatever details it is that I want, and it's going to create that message for me. So it's much better than it ever was before. This customized drafts, I'm going to discard that and go back to Copilot. But customized drafts is where you can actually go into your Outlook settings, turn on using customized instructions so that every time that you are chatting with Copilot here, it automatically knows certain entities. So this takes you directly into settings so that you can set that up if you want it to use it. I don't have mine set up right now because I always have to show it in class. So I don't have mine actively set up. But I really can't say enough about using Copilot in these different apps and how much it has improved just over even the past 3 months, including January, December, and of course, November. There has been major changes to what's been happening with Copilot. But anyway, just so you could see those adjustments that we have. So when you come into Outlook, the enhancements that you're also going to find is some of the icons have actually changed. So, of course, like when they changed the icon for Outlook itself, they did change some of the icons on the ribbon. They're supposed to be more of a modern look, so to say. So if I'm on an email, by the way, if you go to let me go to a different email here real quick. Let's say I'm on this email. There's a new icon that has been enhanced, which is called chat. This is a call out icon. They're all switching the chat icons to call outs now. And in that call out, you can actually click on that and it can chat with the person that was based on that email direct, or you could say chat with all recipients. So if there were 5 people on that email and you want to chat with them through Copilot, which technically takes you into Teams, it will automatically do that. So just so you're aware of that being a change. Otherwise, there hasn't been a ton of changes besides more of the user interface and some things happening in the background. With the applications, nothing user wise. There are a few things that will be coming out here starting in July to the applications, but I don't think they're going to be released until July, so we won't worry so much about those right now. So basically, what you're going to find is when it comes to using your Microsoft 365, the big changes are all going to be Copilot related. They are enhancing the way Copilot is working, the detail, the deeper dive into the subject that you are prompting it with. It's getting much, much better with being able to understand your prompt. So when we talk about prompt engineering and putting together a good prompt, you still need to put together a good prompt. That's not ever going to go away, but the way that it parses it together is a lot more intelligent than it ever was. It combines more words together to be able to really understand what it is that you are asking of the system. So big push on agents. If you have not worked with an agent yet, highly recommend coming into Copilot. On the left-hand side, go to All Agents, and from there you want to look through the agent store to see what agents you might want to use. So if you have a specific agent, like here's that daily agent that I created a few minutes ago, I'm going to click on that and I'm going to click Open. So I want to open that daily agent, and now it's available on my left-hand side, and I can pin it so it stays there. So when I created that agent earlier, all I have to do is come into that agent, because I have this open every day, all day long, and if I wanted to summarize my chats and channels from my activity today, it can do that because that prompt is there ready to go. I used to come in and I would have to type in the same prompts daily. I would have certain prompts for the morning. I had certain prompts at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, I want to ask it, and so that's usually one that I use in my daily agent. I usually have a prompt suggestion that is, what happened today that I didn't get to that should be on my radar tomorrow? It can, and we can specify, do I want it to look in my task? Do I want it to look in my email, my appointments, whatever? It could do all of that. So lastly, I forgot to mention this, and I think it's an important thing to understand. If you go to a meeting, so let's say that I have a meeting next week, and I go to that meeting and open it. Oops, that's not my meeting. Let me go to one of my meetings. If I go to a meeting, I'm going to open this up. It's going to automatically give you, these are kind of built-in agents as well because of the fact that they are prompts. So if we want to have Copilot help us prepare for the meeting, we can click prep me on this. Why attend? Here's some talking points. So it's going to give you suggested prompts that you can be using directly within your events within Outlook and in Teams now. So this has been carried over to Microsoft Teams. So I saw that just come out middle of last week, I think it was. It's like, oh my goodness, what is this? It's something that just came in my new update. So anyway, it's very new. So anytime that you go, I'm going to double click and open up the meeting. It's going to give you suggestions at the top. So here, this one gives me identify concerns. What pre-reads should I review? Prep me for this. So if I wanted to help prep me for this meeting, it's going to go out and look for conversations that were about that meeting and give me information so that I'm up to date before the meeting happens. I don't have to tell Copilot to do it. It gives me those choices now built in. These are the kind of things that you're going to see coming in 2026. You're going to have more enhancements in every one of your applications to make using Copilot so much easier. So, Matthew, do you remember what I said was the word of the year 2020?